Good morning, this is Dr. Bill Wyatt again with the American Orthodontic Society, and I want to talk to you a little bit this morning about an archwire really that I designed years ago for expanding the lower arch. In other words, just developing the lower arch where we could build it out, or any arch really. I'm sorry, it wasn't for just the lower arch, it was for the upper or lower. Any one you wanted to expand, we could do that with this arch wire. And it came to that I had a case once that the lower arch was just expanded at the back and the distal part way too large, and I needed to bring it in. So I just reversed the thing and just made it where it was together, and then I opened it up and put it back so it would push on the distal teeth, back the second molars, and the first molar could, or if you had a wisdom tooth there, you could squeeze it together. In other words, I just opened it up and put it in there, and these teeth in the anterior part, it had little effect on them, but it brought the second molars in and fit the two arches and made them work together like that. I'm going to go ahead and let's get started on that. We had a young lady here that was just a real sweet young lady, and she had a real problem. These are the pictures that we took a little after getting started on the case. But you could look at this is not the only thing that's wrong with this case. I mean, she had an extremely crowded situation. This tooth right here was broken off in the making of the models, and I didn't want to stick it back on or try to rebuild it and make it look halfway decent. So we just really went ahead and started. But you can see the lower molars were way out past the upper molars. Now this comes about by some lack in function where the mouth is open and the tongue is in the bottom arch most of the time, and it expands the lower in the distal part. Normally you'll get the expansion all the way up on the lower where you've got a real chronic mouth breather, but in this particular case, these teeth right in this area were doing okay as far as expansion, and the back teeth were sticking out back here about 2 or 3 millimeters. Let's get this back in place here now. And so we built an arch wire to do that. Now you can see the lower molars back here are out past the upper molar, and we've got a class 2. I mean, there's a whole lot wrong with this case, so don't think it's just this one problem. You hardly ever get a case with only one problem in it. It's usually got several cases. And she had a tongue thrust problem too, and so we added these little teeth, little fingers to these lower teeth in here to train the tongue in addition to this. So let's get on with this. There's a lot of things wrong with it, but I wanted to stress you can constrict the lower jaw or the upper jaw or anything you want to. You could actually make the thing where you could push this tooth lingual if you wanted to. If you wanted to go in and do both sides route and you bring it in, you can do it with this reversing this pressure. All right, we'll go on to the next slide. You can see the lower arch just kind of goes on out like that, and it just got too wide. The upper was back in something like this, and so we wanted to push these teeth lingually, even though to begin with she had this tongue thrust problem, and we used the little fingers to stop that and get the function down normal now if you want to keep it in that position without too much retaining. If you don't get rid of the cause, you got a retention problem as long as you have the teeth, and you to remove your thing that's holding it there, and it'll go back again like it was if your problem is still there. And I got a problem with my voice this morning. Now, you can see the lower teeth were quite a bit wider than the upper teeth at this point. So we're going to squeeze it together, and then we're going to free these teeth up, open the bite, and advance the mandible up in here. So the width we make to match somewhere along in here, because we're going to move this forward about that much, something of that nature. Let's go now to the next slide, and you can see it's an extremely crowded case, and we've got cuspid teeth in here and bicuspids and everything, and we're going to have to kind of make some room in here for teeth. You can put anybody's teeth in their mouth if you want to, but they're going to go look bulged out up here in the front. They'd be too full in this area. Or if you insist on not taking bicuspids, you're going to have to take this part of the mouth and go back with it. And this is ridiculous, because you go back there and extract the wisdom teeth or something else, and people that do this, a lot of them have this halo around and say, oh, we don't extract teeth, but they take the wisdom teeth out, and in many of these cases, they don't have room for them. So don't think this is one of the big problems with mixed generations of people in America and the different parts of the world. Now we've just got people mixed all up, and we've got some large, broad-faced people marry somebody with a thin, narrow facial structure, and you cannot put these teeth, if you happen to get the teeth of the big, broad person, and the skin, if you look at the skin, the teeth come from the same ectodermal layer as the skin, and they'll have the skin color and the skin shape and everything of the person that has the large teeth. And you get in there, you just can't put their teeth in their mouth without bulging it out, or else backing up the whole thing and working like the dickens to get it back. If you just take some teeth in the center out, and then you can bring these back into the gap, or you can bring these forward a little bit and finish it up. All right, let's get on to this particular case here. I get off on this deal of non-extraction, which is it's all right if you can put them in and get the person to look nice. All right, let's go on back. Now here we are looking at the cephalometric picture of the case, and we don't see all this is taken later on during the case, because we got the teeth in bands and everything going along here. This is 1987 when we started doing this. And here, this is more or less the end of the treatment, and this was taken, this is a Panorex, that's 1987, and we started this case earlier. I'm sorry, we've got the back teeth, the posterior x-rays here rather than the first x-rays. Okay, here we go. This is when we started this case. It was 1982, and she was age 9 and 8 months, nearly 10 years old when we started this. And we had a host of teeth. We had here's a wisdom tooth, the second molar and the first molars. right here. Here we are again. She had everything. Second, third, the first molar's here. So we could have put those teeth in there, but we already had all the facial advancement we needed. We didn't want to make her protrusive anymore. So we decided to take out the permanent first bicuspids. And so we just removed these teeth in here. And we're going to have a gap. Now, I didn't take them out. I sent them back, and you got to deal with the person that sent you the case. So if they're insisting on not taking any bicuspids, then they've got a host of teeth back here. You're going to have to back this up and remove teeth, which is a lot harder and much more expensive to do. So we got them to take these teeth out, and this was 1982, and the 8th month of that. And let's see, all right, here we're in 6th month of 1983, and we removed all these teeth. Now watch what happens when we give them some room to come in. Let me go back up here, and this is what I want people to learn. I mean, this cuspid is headed right into this lateral right here, and the crown is running into the developing root of the lateral. This one is doing the same thing. Down here, this cuspid is running right into the lateral here. So we didn't take the teeth out just for the heck of taking teeth out and getting a room. Watch what happens in here, this follicular pressure in here. If we remove the tooth on one side of this tooth is going to go in this direction. And we take this out, this tooth will come over here. In other words, the follicle, or the little sac of liquid around the developing crown, will be, it's pressed against teeth here, and it'll be flattened out. You remove it, and that follicle will get round. It'll push off of this side, and it'll move the tooth over to the distal so that this cuspid can come through. And you see it will happen. Watch this cuspid right here, and that's the lateral, and it is right into the root of that tooth. Now, so if you remove the permanent tooth from it, this tooth is going to go back, and this one goes back. And let's just look, just remember where that is. And I'm going to go now about a year. 882, and we go to 883, and it's just 10 months. Look where the tooth is now. It was going into this root. It's pushed back, and this follicle is assuming a normal shape, and it's come way down. It was running into this part of this tooth up here. This one was down here on this tooth. All of them moved in the right direction. Now, if you're just getting into this stuff and you see that you don't realize what's going to happen if you give some room in there and where you give the room to them. And so you just learn from this thing, and you can see what is going to take place in the development of that child. Now this is age 10, 9, and we haven't done anything to this case except, let me back it up there again, we saw what was going to take place. Let me get erase it. Now this tooth is in there. Just remember, all of these teeth, we're running into the roots of that. What are you going to do? Are you going in there and expand all this part of the mouth and get it out here so this tooth can come in here? This child would look terrible. I mean, they'd just be too big. I did this one time. A guy wanted just did not want to take the bicuspid out, so we just went ahead and I expanded it, and the child looked terrible. And I brought him back, or I went over to his office, really, and took the stuff and showed him, and showed the parents. They didn't want to, oh, we want to extract any teeth. No, we're mixed up people. And you got the tooth of a big, husky person, and here you put it in a little narrow mouth. And this is what happens. And so you can see that happening right here. That is plain as day. And that's what I want to do. Now let's go ahead. This was here in 1984. We still haven't done anything, but we have room now for the teeth to come in, and the cuspids have made it down pretty much into the mouth. So it's coming down good in that shape. Now here is 1984. We started back to do the orthodontics, and we've got a class 2 problem and a molar problem in here. And so we're going to have to deal with that. So here we come in 86 and start the case. We open this up and kind of line that up and get the teeth all lined up. And she's got this tongue thruster. We got these little fingers in here to train the tongue. We didn't put one on this tooth, which hadn't come up with the rest of them. Now here we had teeth out here, and we went back, and this young lady had no room at all for these wisdom teeth. So we sent her back to get these teeth out. And so now you'll get back to where the x-ray was when we showed you to start the case. But we've got the teeth widened out, and we're breaking her tongue thrust habit in here. And here, this goes back to the beginning, and it shows you what the problem we had. This is 1980, and this is age 7. You can predict these things if you really watch what's going on. But you can see the 2 bicuspids, the cuspids, the laterals, the centrals, and you see this is a problem case. And so we've gone through the x-rays and showed you what we needed to do. So we took these teeth out in here. And by removing this tooth, we got this tooth to fall right down in that space. Let me go on now to another. We've got these x-rays mixed up in here, but if you study a little bit and see the dates on them. So here the young lady is 12 years old, right here, age 12. Now none of this orthodontics can be done, and if you just look at 2 years or whatever, you got to go in here and do a first phase thing. You're going to have to study the case, and then you see what's going on, and you go in and do things to the arch, and no appliance or anything else. I mean, the teeth are moving in these places. And so now we're coming in, we're short a bicuspid right in this area right here. Where would you stick the bicuspid? I mean, the mouth is tremendously full to start with. And you say, oh, well, I remember when I had my teeth straightened, they used the labial-lingual situation, and they couldn't do anything if you extracted a tooth. They didn't, your instrument you were using wasn't any good. And, well, it straightened the teeth out on a lot of people, but it just put them out big on everybody. And they said, well, God gave you these teeth, and you try to put them all in there. But it didn't. God didn't give them to this group over in one area of the world, or this group over in another area. the world. I mean, we are mixed up now, and you have to make the teeth fit the person where they'll be as good looking and as nice as possible. And that's what we're trying to do here. And those pictures we had of hers after we finished. All right, this is age 12-4, and here we'll show you just the making of this and putting it together. And I'll show you that large arch wire we put in. See, we took this wire, I mean, it was bigger, and we bend it and we make it kind of, well, I've got it bent, showing you here in a little bit on the wax pattern. Then we're gonna, now the upper arch is a pretty good shape in here, and we put a little tongue thing back here to make sure this stayed right in place. I mean, we didn't band the second molars up above, it looks like. The bicuspids are out, everything is in there now. Now there is the arch wire. So if you need something that brings teeth in at the back, you can take this wire, make it fit here, and now you build it to fit out here, and then you squeeze it together like that. And now when you open this up, the pressure is going to be back in here, going in this direction, and it'll have very little or no effect on the teeth in this part to squeeze in. So this is one way to put something on the outer portion of the tooth to bring it in, bring it in at the back. And this is something you need every once in a while. It's hard to put a lingual arch in here and pull it back in there. This is pretty simple to make. You just expand it, tie it over that I don't get too much pressure on it, and you may not want that much squeezing of it. So let's see. And as we put it on, and we finished her up above, and we've got this upper set out there, and we've got the retainer on it. Now this is back again. We're juggling this around. So we're going to use this reverse Big Daddy right. We're going to bring these teeth in back at the back to make this arch wire look kind of like that, and bring these teeth in underneath the upper teeth. Here are the little fingers. We were breaking the tongue thrust habit at the time. Now there's we had the wisdom teeth removed, and there was absolutely no room. There's hardly any room to get the 12, the second molars in place, even though we've got the bicuspids out. And so this is about the end of the thing. We got it up to a class 1 relation, and here we're bringing it in pretty much where we wanted it, and that's the kind of a close-up of that big wire turned around. Now this part would go back in the back here, so to bring it together. And there we are, and there this large wires back here at the back, pushing these teeth in back here. And we've got these teeth in underneath now, back here in a normal situation. I don't think I was able to find her to get the finishing touches, but this is 1988. Now you can see the lower arches or the lower arch is underneath the upper arch now in the back and the front, and so we finished it out at that point right there. And there it was when we started, and there's where we carried it to. We actually broadened all this out up here to some extent, and we brought this in for the rest of the way. And so you can do this, but this is a pretty complicated case, and she was closing in class 2, and we opened the bite, we brought the lower jaw forward, and we finished it up like that. I think this is the last picture I have of her, but I want to say yes, it is, and we thank you for watching. And there's a lot in most of these cases. You have to take them and learn something about them. You'll have to study them and see everything. I try to remember every little detail in here, but I forget some of the things sometimes you do. But you had to break the tongue thrust problem. That had something to do with it. So I'm going to say goodbye, and I thank you for watching. I wish you'd join our group and subscribe. And I want to see good orthodontics done all around the world. And this YouTube stuff came along at the very instant that I really needed it. I had to quit, but I can reach out and touch people and tell you things you can do wherever you are. So thank you for watching, and I'm going to say goodbye and hang up for today.